Did your life used to be very different to how it is now?
My life is very different than it used to be. When I was growing up, I lived in San Diego, California, in America, where it was hot and sunny every day, even including Christmas. Now that I've grown up, I live and work in London, where it's rainy and cold almost every single day.
This is the park that my brother and I used to come and play in at the weekends. I don't remember it being quite so scruffy, and also today's quite grey. I remember it always being sunny.
Who were your friends?
My best friend was a boy named John Curtis, and the thing I remember most about John was the fact he was a really fast runner. And we used to walk to school every day, and we passed this big, vicious dog every day, and John would run back and forth teasing the dog. However, one time he wasn't fast enough, and the dog bit him right on the bottom, so he stopped after that.
I had a best friend called Claire Gibson. We used to play together all the time. We used to, when we were about 8, we used to enjoy playing spies. I remember we set up a secret society in my garage, and I remember we enjoyed going out pretending we were on a mission by following other people.
Did you ever do anything naughty?
I didn't do too many naughty things when I was a kid. However, when I did the one time, I got in quite a bit of trouble. Me and John climbed to the top of a very tall tree that ran alongside the building where we went to school. It was quite high up. And when we got to the top, we realized we were too scared to climb back down. So they ended up having to call the fire brigade, and they put a big ladder and brought us down. And both of us got suspended and grounded by our parents.
My older brother was quite a bad influence on me. When we used to take the bus home from school, we used to avoid paying fares by sitting at the back of the bus, and when the bus conductor came around to collect fares, we used to turn away and look out of the window so that the conductor would think that he had already collected our fares. Then we would get off the bus and spend our bus fare on sweets.
Let's talk about your school days. Were there any teachers you particularly liked?
There was one teacher I particularly liked when I was going to school in the States, and her name was Mrs. Date. And we called her the Date because she was plump and very sweet and just a really nice, wonderful woman. And that's why we called her the Date.
There was a particular teacher. I went to a Catholic school, and my favourite teacher was a nun called Sister Berkman, because she was a fun nun.
Were there any teachers you particularly disliked?
There was one teacher all the children disliked, and his name was Mr. Wolken. And because he was mean and he was covered with hair, we called him the Wolfman, because he really was a monster. He could make any child cry within about 3 seconds.
There was a teacher called Miss Story who I didn't like because she was quite cold, strict and frightening, and she was constantly telling me off for giggling.
What was your favourite game?
My favourite game when I was growing up was a game called kickball. And kickball is just like American baseball, except it's played with a bigger ball and you actually kick it. And one time when I was playing kickball, I was running out to catch a ball that had been kicked very high. And as I just went to catch it, I turned around and ran into another child. And it knocked all of my teeth out. But luckily, they were able to put most of them back in.
When we came home from school, we had a friend at the end of the road who had a dressing up chest. We used to go there and we used to play dressing up. My favourite was dressing up as a pirate or a princess or a cowgirl. Then we would play in an imaginary world.
What was your greatest wish?
My greatest wish when I was 8, growing up, was to be a professional skateboarder. So I worked really hard, I skateboarded a lot, and by the time I was 12, I achieved my goal, and I became a professional skateboarder.
I always wanted to be either a nun or a pilot. A nun because of Sister Bertman, my favourite teacher, and a pilot because I thought it'd be really exciting.